Okay, let's go back on the record. If anybody like to continue their own private conversations, please do those in the hallway. When I've actually started proceedings, so.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Sorry, yes. Mr. Sanchez.
No.
Barkov. Barkov.
Let's see, Brian.
All right, we're back on the record.
Brandon Barkov.
Mr. Sanchez, during the break, you had a chance to talk with the council regarding request for 5 years for certain information.
Thank you, Chairman Noble, or Commissioner Noble, Tony Sanchez, for the record. I wanted to be specific and make sure that we were talking about the same thing. The costs that are associated that are subject to the confidentiality are costs related to ongoing litigation, confidential litigation issues, but there is nothing in what's being requested to be deemed confidential that we're seeking a recovery of in the context of this case.
And with regards to that confidential information, I would presume that there have been protective agreements signed by at least some of the parties, including staff and BCP, that allows them to review that information.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Raymond Fletcher.
Good evening. For the record, Raymond Fletcher, R-A-Y-M-O-N-D, Fletcher, F-L-E-T-C-H-E-R. When I look at the title of your organization, Public Utilities Commission, first thing comes to mind is public. You serve at the pleasure of the public. I haven't heard anybody come before you in the time that I've been here to concur with increasing any kind of rate agreement. Quite contrary, everyone has to come up here and say that they are opposed to any kind of increases, which you can't blame them. A lot of people come up and share personal stories and whatnot. I'm not going to do that because I can tell that you don't care. What you care about is the bottom line. So let me talk to you about what I have. Just received a new bill. Pretty little red sticker on it. You know, and I see prior rate, new rate, prior rate, new rate, prior rate, new rate. I'm being charged for it over and over and over again. I hear people talking about turning their hair on at 83 degrees, 85 degrees. You know, I do the same, and on fixed income as well. Nearly $150 for one individual living in a home. And I'm not complaining because I'm hearing people with $500, $800 bills. But the fact of the matter is, fixed income, I can't make money appear out of nowhere. I don't have the privilege of jacking up my compensation or the compensation of my friends just for the benefit of making them more richer at the public's, loss there. It's inconceivable to me as an educated man, and I have a college degree, to go through these little handouts that come in the bill. Nothing has explained to me whatsoever what these increases are for, what they're due. You want to raise things $5 to $10 to $15. When is enough? When is enough? You have people that fought and defended our country that can't even live in their home for various reasons. You have people that are just struggling. People on fixed incomes are making their choices not only between their food and their medication, but am I going to be cool tonight? You know, people should not have to unplug their items just to save energy. Got a lady speaking about being from the Chicagoland region in Northwest Indiana. I too am a proud former Hoosier, and my bills $64 a month, $70 a month, no more than that, no more than that. So why should we have to struggle? I'm sure you possibly get a salary at the compliments of us public citizens. You're welcome, by the way. And I'm pretty sure it's a lucrative salary to pay the increases that you want us to absorb, because after all, we're paying for your utilities with your salary that we pay for. So, the public has spoken. They have vehemently said no. And let me conclude, the older gentleman before we went on break boastful fellow he was. There was no ramp, you're right, but you know what else there? Sidewalks. Sir, I rode in the street to get here. I rode on a bus for an hour and a half, only to find that there are no sidewalks. So as you advertise these places, you may want to consider, you know, you have the luxury of jumping in a vehicle that we probably pay for as well. And you don't have to deal with some of the things that us common folk have to deal with. Rising grocery prices, rising healthcare prices, rising energy prices. And heard a lot of Warren Buffett, and I'll conclude this one. We all know for a fact that his own secretary pays more taxes than he does. It has been recorded time and time again. So why don't we do what's best for the public and just say no? Thank you.
Antonio Garcia. Antonio Garcia. Greg Rost. Zachary Slaughter.
Speak up, please.
Zachary Slaughter. Remy Vargas.
My name is Remy Vargas. My testimony is very short. Okay. Just have another complaint about that.
And Ms. Vargas, if you could spell your name for the record.
Oh, sorry. R-E-M-Y, Remy Vargas, V-A-R-G-A-S.
Thank you.
Remy Vargas. My complaint, sir, about the power. My house is not a large house. It's a small house. It's a flat home, 3-bedroom, 1,600 square foot. I purchased that house 1993. I am a widow of a U.S. Air Force military. I lost my husband. So anyway, I've been in that property for the last 23 years. And I don't understand, sir. My power goes up and up and up. Last month, $131. So and I told them I cannot afford that. So I asked for energy assistance program, which they sent February. This is February. Then I picked it up and everything. I sent them by registered mail. This is February. I have not heard anything from them yet. And I keep writing letter, register letter. I have all the receipt from post office here, writing them a letter. I don't get any response. And now this month, my bill is almost $200. Sir, I live alone. My two neighbors, they have two families. They bill, the power bill is less than $100. Next to me here, they have two families, the same thing. Why me, 131 and 190? I don't understand this. There is no fairness in this. I'm alone. And I don't abuse the electricity. I only turn it on at night. So, this is my registered letter that I sent to the company.
Mrs. Vargas, our staff will, if we can get your information outside after the hearing, and we will look into that. If we can get your information that you have, so we can follow up on that. We will follow up with United Way that administers the Project Reach program for us, and we could also send somebody to take a look at your specific situation at your house to do an assessment of your energy usage to help.
I request us to come to the property and check the meter. Maybe
We will do
something is
that.
wrong. I don't have any response, nothing as of now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Fred Volz.
Good evening, for the record, Fred Holtz, F-R-E-D, V as in Victor, O-L, T as in Tom, Z as in zebra. This general rate case may be guaranteed employment for the PUC, consultants, and NVE management, but it certainly is not in the public interest with 59 rate classes, thousands of pages of conflicting and repetitive company data, glib statements unsupported by the unvarnished facts, numbers that don't accurately portray reality faced by the ratepayers, and expert witnesses whose jobs depend upon towing the NVE party line for ever-increasing rates and fees. The Northern Service Territory was hit with a 68% increase in the basic service charge earlier this year. Had the Commission or NVE actually been concerned with the public interest, any reasonable fixed cost could have been built into the per kilowatt hour rate. Instead, NVE was given a guaranteed income stream regardless of usage. Any business, even a monopoly, ordinarily checks in with its customers before launching new products or initiatives, not NVE. The new president proudly announced in his sworn testimony that stakeholders are consulted, except they don't consider ratepayers stakeholders. At no point did NVE consult customers before, not after, before it implemented its vulnerable surveillance meter program or an outage reporting system that cannot be operated to proactively notify radio stations of power outages. The paltry savings derived from Warren Buffett's takeover of NVE, do they even total $30 million, are never clearly totaled anywhere in the massive submissions and pale in comparison to the over $3 billion of annual revenue extracted from ratepayers. The general rate case now asks that NVE be fully reimbursed for surveillance meter installation costs, while it has failed to fully realize the cost savings promised as a condition of program approval. The to date, that is $7 million in unrealized benefits so far, and future shortages should be charged against profit and not paid for by ratepayers in the general rate case. Given the $18 million, not $25 million, Mr. Sanchez, of net benefits allegedly realized in the first 17 months of this program, it will take almost 25 years to recover the $319 million in estimated surveillance meter project costs. But the estimated useful life of the equipment is only 20 years. Not a very good ROI. In the meantime, we are at an even greater risk of cyber attacks on the power grid given the heightened interconnection between utilities and power sources distribution points. The $1 million of ratepayer money spent by NVE on the euphemistically described consumer confidence project to plug IT security gaps discovered after the new meters went live guarantees nothing. NVE has literally thrown away more than $70 million of analog meters in the South it now wants reimbursement for in the general rate case, when it made no reasonable attempt to salvage value from those meters. This reimbursement should be denied. Every NVE employee is prospectively eligible for a bonus of up to 100% of base salary. Last year, this cost ratepayers over $15 million. If Buffett wants to pay already highly compensated employees of a monopoly franchise a bonus, funding should come from his guaranteed and excessive 10% profit margin, not a surcharge to ratepayers. This expense should not be approved in the general rate case. Where is the insistence anywhere in this general rate case of a significant cost reduction program across all parts of NVE's operation with a minimum target of 10% overall expense reduction? Has anyone asked during the general rate case if NVE has too many managers in relationship to non-managers? This general rate case and the overblown bureaucratic process which has developed to process it both need to be sent back to those responsible for major reworking, simplification, and rational thought. Ongoing ratepayer groups need to be formed for policy input at NVE and the PUC if either body wants to actually know what constitutes the public interest from the public's direct perspective as a key constituency. Keep the existing rate structure until the extensive problems can be fixed. Thank you.
Bruce, B-R-U-C-E, Ruger, R-U-G-A-R. I'm an optional time of use, option A, customer of NV Energy. And under the current tariff rate, my basic service charge is higher than the rate charged to regular residential customers. This new proposal, under the new proposed rates, my basic service charge will be the same as regular residential customers. I would like you to consider whatever decision you make regarding the basic service charge to be equalized for optional time of use customers. I have a question regarding how the $25 million savings applicable to the smart meter program was calculated. So does that include the return on the smart meter investment and the thousands of radio transmitters used to collect the data and the operation of the computer systems to process the data? That's a cost. The savings are the labor that NV Energy no longer needs to pay for the meter readers. So does the savings, is that a net savings, or is that just the savings on the avoided costs of labor?
Mr. Sanchez, do you have that information readily available, or is there another representative with NV Energy in the audience that might be able to answer Mr. Ruger's question?
We certainly can go into as much detail as you'd like at the conclusion of the hearing.
Well, what I'm asking is that $25 million savings net, or is it just avoided costs, ignoring the added costs of the operation of the smart meter system?
We'll go ahead and have you speak to our rates department that are sitting behind you right now, and they can give you all that specific detail.
Well, you said there was $25 million savings. I'm asking how is that calculated?
And Mr. Ruger, Mr. Sanchez has already answered you twice and directed you to the person that can give you that information.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have one for Teresa, no last name. Alexis Brett Bacon.
Alexis Brett Bacon, that's ALEXISBRETT-bacon, as in bacon. And I'd really love to have your representative come and actually address us, if they're right behind us, as to where the savings in the meter readers, where that money went. I think, referring people, this is stuff we should know about. Those meters went in, you saved money on meter readers, we should know. That's a good question. Why can't you answer us? I mean, I feel like it's a disrespect to the public here. I don't get it. And from what I read, please correct me if I'm wrong, the meters were a grant from the federal government, is that true? So that did not come out of your pocket, plus you saved money on meter readers. Where does this money go? I'm disgusted. I just want to say I'm disgusted here. Mr. Noble, you're the only buffer between us and Nevada Energy, a monopoly. We can't go to a competitor. We don't like the way they're running business, or if their rates are too high. We are forced to go with them. There's no competitors, except for the solar people that are now coming into the state.
There's no competitor.
There's no competition. We can't say we don't like your customer service, who gives us the runaround every time we call. We can't answer basic questions when this gentleman was talking about getting someone out. It's just an arrogance that is disgusting to me. I can hardly sit here and be calm. We are at your mercy. Your mercy to pay what you wanted to make us pay, but also your mercy. You're the only person between us and them, and we don't have a choice. And I'm just asking you to tell these people no. Every 6 months they come back with their hand out. And I remember in 2008, the economy was about to go into a recession, and I got my bill. And there they were, wanting their, in the worst economic times. And like someone quoted the unemployment rate. I don't see young, necessarily lower middle class people like myself and families. They're working. I'm not going to be so presumptuous as to say I'm speaking for them, but I just ask around my neighborhood and we're all dreading that bill every month. The fixed income, anyone who's working for minimum wage or wage is on fixed income. We do not have salaries. We will not get the cost. Even people on Social Security get a 1.5. It's ridiculously low. It's seniors, it's disgusting. Our senior citizens, our young families, people we're supposed to be protecting in government because they can't, they're not in a position of power. I think it's disgusting. Elderly people get up here, disabled people, and even one get up here like this 9-year-old veteran and can't pay their bill. Not one of these people should be here begging for affordable energy. I'm sorry. How can we impress upon you that we need you. We need you to speak for us. We need you to speak for us. You're the state. Another point I wanted to make, as a single mom who's been on energy assistance in the past, are our taxpayers paying when people can't afford their rates? Are they passing on energy assistance? Is that from the taxpayers like welfare? Can you answer that? You must be, if you're from the state of Nevada, you must have the state of Nevada DHS, Department of Health and Human Services, in that building or department. And have you gone down the hall to ask them how much is coming out of the pockets of Nevadans to pay for people if they're not? Are you, Mr. Sanchez, does Nevada Energy cover the energy assistance program is my question.
Ms. Brett Bacon, if everybody looks at their bill, there's a line item for UEC charge. That's the energy assistance charge that's mandated by statute that everybody pays. And it's passed through to the welfare division that uses it both for two things, energy assistance and then updates to the homes for energy efficiency.
Okay, thank you. It's just that would be one more ridiculous insult to the people. Indigent people who, I would imagine most of the people who come up here with hardship probably qualify for energy assistance. I mean, do we want our citizens to be paying a reasonable rate that we can all afford? Or do we want to relegate everyone to the energy assistance program, which I don't know how much is offset by the state? I mean, does our state pay, our citizens pay anything of the energy assistance program? I guess is my question, or is it all covered by Nevada Energy?
It's all covered by ratepayers in Nevada Energy by statute.
Right, by statute. I'm just saying, let's not put that burden on our taxpayers by statute. Let's make it affordable so that everyone can pay. I mean, I would love to hear the statistics of how many of our citizens are on energy assistance. I would love to hear those statistics because if there are probably tens of thousands, I don't know how much that program is allotted, but look at that. I mean, people are hard up in this state. We are not ranked highly in any social milieu for our children or anything else. We are a working class state predominantly. We have casinos. It's not right. It's not that it's just annoying. Thank you. It's not just annoying. It's not right. We're talking social injustice here. This is a utility company. This is not an American corporation where we can go to their competition if we don't like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keith Hutner. Is Keith Hutner here? Angel DeFazio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Apparently somebody wanted to be known as the troublemaker. I resent the title being taken from me. Okay, Angel DeFazio, ANGEL-DEFAZIO. Based on Gary Smith's rate case testimony, greater than 99% of the meters have been installed. The questions are, have these meters benefited the ratepayers? Have they conserved, taken control of their energy use, been able to reduce their bills? Has there been a real trial period showing that customers have truly benefited? Are the customers using all the bells and whistles that NVE keeps claiming are for the benefit of the ratepayers? The answers are hardcore, absolutely not. They conserve their conservation efforts have resulted in higher rates for everyone, as NVE has to get their 10% ROI. They no longer have shareholders, therefore the ROI needs to be severely reduced. During the last rate case for Sierra, their monthly service charge increased substantially with the same increase proposed for us. Should the ratepayers be forced to pay interest if NVE can't start recovering their smart meter costs? No. This was NVE's fast-following project that so far hasn't lived up to all the hyperbole. Not to negate the fact, October 2012's annual consumer session, I spoke and submitted proof that PECO was ripping out all census meters and replacing them because Exponent tested them and made the recommendation to remove them, when in fact in December of 2011, Exponent appeared here and said they were safe. Just recently, Scass Power in Canada, a Crown corporation, has put its province-wide meter replacement project on hold as it investigates 6 census smart meter-related fires that have occurred in the last 2 months. Now you expect us to pay or incur interest on a project that other energy companies are having a problem with? I don't think so. The $25 million is a fluff figure that is made up for with other charges. Oh look, we've saved you $25 million. Aren't we wonderful? And aren't you glad to be benefiting from this new metering system? January 12, 2012, RJ, quote, the idea, said the company, was to create a safer, more reliable, efficient, and affordable system. One that would save more than $35 million a year in meter reading costs while encouraging ratepayers to use less power. Okay, that's $10 million in reality. Not to forget our recent power outages from this reliable system, and this rate is not affordable. The 15.25 increase is a farce. NVE claims that the average customer is estimated to increase only $2.80 or 1.85%. In order to get the 5.25 decrease, you will have to use more kilowatts for lower per kilowatt rate. So in reality, you're using more power to supposedly offset the 5.25 increase. You're paying for more power, taxes on this usage, and then every 3 months, the KW rate is adjusted. So you want us to conserve, but we have to use more to get the savings. This is a false flag figure. Lower usage customers will never have this reduction by any means. Creative PR marketing to get people thinking they are offsetting the increase. I don't think the PUC should be approving the rates as they have direct and substantial interest in the rates. As you collect the mill from the portion of the taxes that we pay on the charges, I see it as a conflict of interest. All of these rates are nothing short of an energy foreplay. Come 2017, we are going to get rates for $583 million for new replacement capacity, $275 million remaining coal plant investment, plus other costs related to remediation of coal and supporting facilities for the replacement generation capacity, and will likely increase this amount to about $1 billion. This was given to me by the BCP. This increase includes all your public interest rebates, subsidizing, etc., that everyone is forced to pay. Smart grid news, just recently.
Ms.
ASU,
DeFazio, if you could wrap up your comments.
I am. ASU history professor Matthew Whitaker summed it up great when he said, why should someone like my late grandmother, who labored as a widow black, help underwrite the grid use of a largely white male resource demographic? You can't keep giving away things, subsidies on the backs of everyone. There comes a point where the straw is breaking the camel's back. You make over 6 figures a year. That's public knowledge. $5.25 is nothing to you. To some people, that could be a meal. It's not fair. And to sum it up.
Ms. DeFazio, your time is up.
Okay.
Brenda Danielle.
For sure. For sure.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Daniele, B-R-E-N-D-A, Daniele, D-A-N-I-E-L-Y. And the reason for my concern with being here this evening is to allow other people to understand that they have to read their bills, and that we do have alternatives. And I don't understand why the PUC does not give us the opportunity to exercise the other alternatives like American wind power through wind turbines, solar energy. Those are all the alternatives that are out there, and actually this will open up another market. And my parents live on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, and they don't, people here don't understand what's going to happen once we get this rate increase. It's going to increase to about 14 cents per kilowatt, and the average is about 12 cents per kilowatt national, and there is a market out there for choice once this happens. And you know, I myself am an independent representative for the North American Power, and the product is American Wind. And the movement is to eliminate, you know, foreign oil dependency and allow new energy sources. And Warren Buffett is a part of that too. He's a part of that he's getting paid on both ends. You know, when he comes here to, you know, for $20 million that we're asking for revenue, it doesn't say that it's for operations, or they've eliminated. I mean, we have to go to computers to pay our bills. Everything's been eliminated for the human, from human beings having jobs and service to the community. So the only reason I just want to give information to people that there will be some options, that we will not have to use Nevada Power if they do this increase, and you do have competitors. Thank you.
Joyce Hazard.
JOYCEHAZARD. I just want to say that the BCP has done a great job in presenting the facts that are in our favor and that the commission should listen to what they said, because that's what we need. Every time, you know, we were supposed to realize some savings because of the smart meter rollout, but smart meters can't really reduce your bill, because your bill is predicated on how much electricity you use, period, the end. I mean, if you don't know on your own that your refrigerator goes on and off, and you have to run a computer to say, oh, am I using electricity now? That's just totally ridiculous, okay? To add $5 is only to help Nevada Energy's bottom line, the ratepayers and everything, but the consumers cannot afford the constant rate hikes. The BCP has given the reasons, and for once, you need to listen to the BCP, because they are representing all the people, and all the people that aren't even here tonight that couldn't come to speak. So we're a majority in this case, for the rate case. We need to be listened to. Thank you.
Mike Hazard.
Mike Hazard, M-I-K-E-H-A-Z-A-R-D. The basic service charge of $10 per month does not need to be increased to $15.25 and should be rejected by the commission. The acceleration of coal plant recovery is also totally unnecessary, and the BCP motion to rescind paragraph 21 in this docket to consider accelerating those costs should have been approved rather than rejected, Mr. Noble. The concept of increasing the BSC while slightly reducing the BTGR is nothing but a sleight of hand effort to protect the company, Mr. Sanchez. It offers absolutely no benefit to the customers and is simply a ruse to fool the unwary into believing that it will be a benefit to the ratepayers. The Commission has complete latitude in both of these issues to reject both of them, and that is what they should do. The legislature was okay with cost recovery for the depreciation of the Reed Gardner plant over a number of years. That is the approach that should remain, and the Commission should reject paragraph 21 and keep to the original schedule of cost recovery over several years. The Commission, and especially you, Mr. Noble, as the presiding officer over this docket, stand in a unique position of authority to protect the interests of the ratepayers. Please stop this abrogation of common sense now. I, as a ratepayer, and we, as ratepayers, are in a position that historically appears to have little effect on this highly politicized situation perpetrated by big money and political favor. Not only do we pay the outrageous fees of a corporate monopoly, but we also pay the wages of government employees who are appointed to protect our economic interests as customers. We don't want corporate cronyism protected by government. We want it stopped. In 2009, the kilowatt rates were around 11 cents. Today they're at around 12 cents, and I'm assuming they must be going to go to 13% or 13 cents, if we're that lucky. Good. And this, in 2009, was before the AST rollout, and now it's going to be 13 cents or more after the AST rollout. So I'm not quite sure how 13 cents is better after the AST was rolled out, and it was marketed as a program that would save customers energy and money. So how is this saving customer money? How is the higher BSC and the higher BTGR a benefit to customers, and how then was the AST a benefit and thus meet the criteria of section 305, docket number 10-02009, and subsequently thereafter in 11-1007 and 12-0503, when it said, in part, the companies are responsible for the execution of this project, meaning the ASD, to ensure that the potential benefits are realized and that these benefits flow to the company's customers in a manner that is equitable and commensurate with the risks involved in this endeavor. That means they have to meet a certain criteria, Mr. Commissioner, and if they don't get paid. I hope you remember that. Mr. Sanchez, you mentioned earlier in your comments that the company would realize $25 million in savings and that it would be passed on to customers. And the only way I know that that would be passed on to the customers is through lower utility bills. If you ask me, this is a smoke and mirrors effort, okay? And on June 11, 2011, Lisa Madigan, the Illinois Attorney General, spoke out condemning ComEd's initiative to roll out their ASD. Here she said, the consumers don't need to be forced to pay billions for so-called smart technology to know how to reduce their utility bills. We know how to turn down heat and air conditioning and shut off the lights. The utilities have shown no evidence of billions of dollars in benefits to consumers for these new meters, but they have shown how they will profit. And so in conclusion, I wonder how the Commission can approve another rate hike when in January 1 of 2014, there was a revenue increase of $102,571,000 and change. Effective April 1, the second rate increase in 2014, an increase of $13,302,000. And then another rate increase went into effect July 1, where it's $6,881,000. Really? And you want us to believe that we should welcome another rate increase? I say no. And so does everybody else who has spoken here today. No. Thank you.
Fred Russ. Fred Russ. Colonel Robert Frank.
Good evening, members of the commission. Can you hear me in the back?
It's okay, yeah.
Sound system is lousy. I don't know why you don't fix it. It's been bad for 3 years and it never gets better. Can I make that for the record?
It's on the record.
I'm Robert Frank, Colonel Robert Frank, U.S. Air Force retired. This is about my 4th or 5th time in front of this commission, concerned about smart meters and related national security issues that relate to the cyber warfare risks of having the grid and smart meters on the internet. I realize this is a different take than many of the people here, but those of us that have experience in this technology have to speak up because it's a very serious problem. My qualification is to comment on the cyber warfare threats of putting the power grid and the elements of the smart meters that connect it to the internet is that I formerly was a Chief Technical Officer for the Air Force Logistics Command before retiring. I was the Chief Scientist for Electronic Commerce at Lawrence Livermore Lab, which is responsible for developing many of the software techniques and applications for the federal government to use the internet for secure business transactions, including the banking industry that uses the internet for secure wire transfers that are valued up to $1 billion on the internet using email. It is possible to be secure. It is possible to have an effective use of technology. I see no evidence that this commission is requiring Nevada Energy to do due diligence to do this. And I say shame on you. I think that's a violation of your oath because Nevada Energy has the money and the technology to be able to prove that they can be audited, they can be, that the vulnerability can be analyzed, but they're not being required to do that. So why should they be allowed to go forward with putting the power systems and our homes on the internet if the Defense Department and the Homeland Security Department have said on the record many times that the power grid is vulnerable to internet hacking from around the world, and if that should happen, we are vulnerable from a society to being seriously threatened because not only will such a threat, if it occurs, will it cause people to literally lose their lifestyle? Imagine if the power grid goes down for weeks, not a day or two, not even a week, but if it goes down for months. Some of the serious threats that have been identified for the power grid through hacking and or things like nuclear attacks. I don't lose any sleep after more than 20 years in the Air Force. I don't lose any sleep about a bomb going over the internet and destroying all of our electricity. Some people worry about that. I don't worry about that very much because if it gets that bad, that's a whole different scenario. But I do worry about the very serious threat of hackers into the grid and hackers into the power system, because they can do just as much damage and be selective. If it should happen to come into our system, the point I'm trying to make to you is that while it seems fairly innocent enough to consider changing the rates for Nevada Energy to put more smart meters in and to continue their program, which many people already testified, so I'm not going to be redundant about how they failed in their program. Absolutely failed in what they promised 3 years ago. So why are we going to give them more money to fail again? Because quite frankly, why should anybody trust them to accomplish a program that has failed so miserably after so many years? Why would you trust them with more money? Secondly, as an opt-out customer, many of you remember I was quite adamant about wanting to be an opt-out customer. How dare they to expect me to pay for the people who didn't opt out and who have smart meters for their extra cost? When I paid for my opt-out, I should not be charged a single dime for the smart meter customers who are in fact benefiting from what they had without paying a dime to start with. So the question is, how can you possibly consider charging opt-out customers anything, even if you do finally give somebody an up in their bill for using a smart meter? And if somebody all of a sudden finds out they're going to have to pay for a smart meter, guess what? They would probably want to opt out. Because most people I know that have smart meters haven't got a clue on what they're worth to them, and they don't use them, and they're not interested in using them. They didn't have to pay to get them in the first place, so why should they care? If you start charging them extra money, you're going to find out a lot of people, I think, really do care, and they don't want them. What do you do then? I'd like to wrap up my comments by simply saying, I'm most worried about the threat to our society by internet use and access by the grid and by the potential for smart meters and the networking tools and the data mining tools that will be used to analyze the data. I'm most worried about those being part of a future serious threat to this country. And I think the Commission is failing in its duty if it does not take that seriously and does not require Nevada Energy to prove that it can audit, it can verify, and that it is not adding new vulnerabilities to the national security issue. And I'll remind everybody here, in case you don't know it, I know the Commission knows this.
Colonel Frank.
Are you done?
Yes.
All right, I'll wrap it up with one statement. Our military systems are on the same grid as our civilian systems. There are no separations. So when our grid goes down, so does our military defense. Think about that. That is a real problem. Thank you.
Rebecca Slaughter. Rebecca Slaughter. Juanita Clark. Juanita Clark. Louis Baker.
What's the name?
Louis Baker.
My name is Louis Baker. I'm running for State Senate District 2.
Mr. Baker, if you could spell your name for the record, and if you could sit down so that
It doesn't seem to come through in the back very well. Okay, my name is Lou Baker. I'm here because of the rate increases that we continuously get year after year. We've been up 140% since 1985, and the rates just seem to climb at about 10% per year. There's a big problem. You see, if we want to cut expenses, we really have to start at the top of NV Energy, because those guys at the top are receiving millions and millions of dollars in salaries and bonuses for doing what? Okay? Now, we can run a company, and it is supposed to be a stock that you can purchase on the market if you like, but at the same time, there has to be reasonable action and reasonable expenses. I'm going to tell you the NV Energy is double dipping in a lot of cases. I happen to be a general contractor and a solar contractor, and I know exactly what is going on with NV Energy. I know that there's a conspiracy abound to make Nevada Energy the sole proprietor of energy in the state of Nevada, avoiding all competition at all costs and looking at the loopholes to get around other competitive bidding coming in here to do the job to lessen the expenses on the public. Under the solar program, we contribute, and you look on your utility bill, you can find several places on the utility bill where we, the people, contribute to the renewable energy programs. And as a result of that, they've given the authority to NV Energy, that's like putting the wolf in charge of the chicken house. They choose and pick supposedly at a random drawing. Well, that's not really where it should be. It should be in the hands of an independent committee, because it's not their money as they say it is. They say, well, we're giving you the money so that you can install solar. Well, that's horse manure. We're giving the money because it's on our bill each and every month. So let's get the record straight for a change, okay? The second thing is that when you decide that you're going to get that subsistence from NV Energy, us, then all of a sudden you have to surrender your PECs or your RECs. And for those people who don't know what a PEC and a REC is, let me tell you what it is. It's a renewable energy credit, it's our portfolio energy credit. Those RECs are valuable because at the end of the year, when you generate a certain amount of electricity, say 13 megawatts or 14 or 19 or 20 megawatts, you get a certificate. It's like a stock certificate that's worth money. And when cap and trade comes into play, you're going to find out that those are a valuable commodity. So the double dipping comes in when NV Energy charges you the additional charges and then take those RECs that they own, and any additional solar that you put onto your roof becomes their property. So the double dipping takes effect and it has to stop. They have, with their high-paid attorneys, manipulated the system to their benefit. Well, it's the citizens of Nevada that are important. We're the ones that pay the bills. And yes, we don't have an option, but we need options. And it's up to you to see that we get them. If you don't do that, then you're negligent in your job. Because each of these people who have spoken here tonight are telling you about the sufferance that they've had to go through and how we've seen these utility bills explode to the point that they have to choose between eating, getting medicine, or paying a utility bill. In some cases, their utility bill is almost as much as their mortgage or their rent. Come on. Where does it stop? Are we going to continue to go down this road, or are we going to do something that's in the benefit of the citizens? We know that NV Energy and Harry Reid are in collaboration, and that Harry Reid would like to be the czar of energy in Nevada. And we see that in many instances, the 90,000 acres they want to give to the Indians, well, they're not giving it because he's a humanitarian.
Mr. Baker, you can bring this back to the rate case.
It is. It's about NV Energy because that's where you have to sell the renewable energy credits because they have a monopoly on that as well. We had the Hartley Act that was supposed to prohibit that from taking place, but it doesn't take place in today's society. And what we need to do is get back to what some of our original founders wanted, and that is parity in the law. And if we can't get parity in the law, we got nothing.
Nicole Whalen. Mary Dillon.
My name is Mary Dillon, M-A-R-Y-D-I-L-L-O-N, and I came to speak out against the rate increase. The rate increase is being touted on the news as the lowest it's been asked for in some time. However, they don't allude to the $5.35 that's being added to everyone's bill when they're talking about that. And I find that that is an amount that is seemingly excessive to me. I don't understand what it's going for at this point. I am an opt-out person. I already paid $10 more each month after having paid for a regular meter. And I don't understand why it sounds to me that that amount of money is to help recover the cost of the smart meter program. And if I'm an opt-out customer, why does it apply to me? And I just feel that too many of the people that we've listened to tonight have very, very valid comments and discussions, and I wish I was more eloquent. I'm just speaking for those of us who may not have as much time to delve into all of the information, but we still regret the increases as they're laid out, because it just doesn't seem to be equitable. Thank you.
Mr. Sanchez, could you explain briefly what is in the proposed basic service charge, what that would be, what that is meant to cover?
Thank you, Commissioner. The basic service charge reflects the cost of simply of having a customer, for example, accounting software, billing systems, et cetera, that we charge, that are the costs incurred. So that is what is encompassed typically in the basic service charge.
And by proposing the increase from $9 up to $15, you're trying to reach 100% cost recovery with regards to costs that include Rule 9 elements, which are from the residential house out to the distribution line. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all the cards that I've got. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to be here this evening and sticking it through for 2.5 hours. And as I said, we have hearings scheduled for August and September over a 3-week period. And then I will put together a draft order and present that before the full commission for consideration at most likely the November 20th agenda. And with that, we are adjourned.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask
A question?
You can come and talk to me.
Are the commissioners going to be here on the August 19th meeting?
I don't know what August 19th.
I think it's a general consumer session. I'm here. No, I didn't leave you. Okay.
Join that with the United States government.